Hello. So today I completed the Guardian Druid Mage Tower challenge in Shadowlands 9.2, and I'm making this video just to give you some tips, if you're struggling. This bear form is really sick, so why not make it easy on yourself? And I'll give you some, tips, things I learned, things like that. But I want to preface this by saying I don't have footage of my cruel kill, but I do have the details, the damage and healing meters from that fight, my cruel kill. Now, I did do 15 pulls before I actually got my kill, and which is actually not so bad, but I'm a mediocre guardian druid, so my gear, my consumes, little things that that I learned, they all kind of add up and help me, nail this challenge. So the most important thing I think would to consider for this challenge that would determine how easy or difficult this challenge is for you is gear. No doubt the hardest gear, the hardest way to do this challenge is to do Shadowlands gear. That's just a significantly harder way. If you want a really, really good challenge, go for it in your Shadowlands gear. I couldn't do it in my Shadowlands gear. Last time I tried, and I just couldn't do it in Shadowlands gear. So I'm just going to go over stuff I used to optimize my kill, but also, help you out. So I had a few sets here. I had strictly, Siege of Orgrimmar gear. I had, my gear set I actually went with. And then I had just like strictly crafted gear from Legion and Pandaria. So the best gear you can possibly get is going to be Legion gear with sockets. Most of my gear is from Legion raids. I would just run them, hope I got one piece that proc with the socket and just kind of put my gear set around those pieces. So for my hat, I've got the, let me move this. I've got this Legion hat from the Nighthold, had versatility on it, had a socket, and I put a Kraken's Eye of Agility in there. It's unique, but it's 6 agility. So I stuck that in there. For my neck, I just got this off the auction house. Enchanted it with Mark of the Hidden Satyr. That's going to be your go-to neck enchant. Keep in mind that any of the old world enchants can't be applied to gear over item level 50. That's why, most of my stuff is 50 or lower in some cases. So, Mark of the Hidden Satyr can't be applied to, Shadowlands gear or even level 51 gear. It's 50 and below. And I put a Leviathan's Eye of Agility in there. Another unique gem, but it's really nice. 7 agility. My shoulders, I just used Siege of Orgrimmar shoulders. Not the greatest, but I couldn't get a shoulder with a socket to drop from Legion raids, so I just went with this. I put a Tiger Claw inscription, the Greater Tiger Claw inscription enchant from Pandaria on the auction house. Kind of pricey, but it's 5 agility and 2 crit. I put a 3 agi gem in there along with a Nightmare Tear, plus 4 all stats. Really nice, again, unique, but really awesome. Plus you get a little socket bonus. Now for the back, again, couldn't get its Legion raid cape to proc with the socket, but this had versatility on it. I threw a Shadowlands Legion stamina enchant on there, just for a little extra, stamina. For my chest, I used the crafted PvP gear from Mists of Pandaria. Had 2 sockets, had a burst bonus for the socket, which was really nice. Put Eternal Skirmish on there, which is just a little bit of extra damage. all these little damage abilities from this gear set add up and, make you go through this challenge pretty easily. For the bracers, I just used the Druid Order Hall bracers. A lot of guides on YouTube show that they use this, and for good reason. It's level 50, so you can put, the old world agility enchant on there. I threw a Saber's Eye of Agility, another unique gem, but had verse on it, had a socket, level 50, pretty awesome. You just get this from questing in your order hall. If you play during Legion or did any Legion order hall stuff, you probably already have these. Just go talk to the quartermaster in the order hall. You could buy them for 100, 200 gold. And for my hands, I use the handguards of Demon's Bane, which didn't have a socket, but they were item level 50, and they do have a interesting equip effect, which is that it inflicts a little arcane blast when you damage a demon, which is really important in this mage tower in the High Lord challenge, because every single enemy in there is going to be a demon. So every time you're attacking a demon in there, you got a chance to proc this, which is really nice. For this, for my belt, I just found Heroic Nighthold, proc with the socket, threw a Living Steel belt buckle on there, gave it an extra socket, put 2 Agi gems in there. Same thing with pants, proc with the socket, Mythic Nighthold, put Shadow Leather leg armor on there for a really sweet enchant. Raid Finder, verse, shoes, proc with the socket, had verse on them, threw a Agi gem and Shadowlands Agi enchant. For rings, I just bought these off the auction house. They both had a good chunk of versatility. Put Shadowlands verse enchant through an old world verse gem in there. It's looking good, so I ran with it. Now for trinkets, this is sort of its own category because there's a lot of really good trinkets you can use in Mage Tower, especially for Cruel. I ended up running Seed Pod and Blood Spattered Scale. An interesting thing is this Seed Pod, it drops off the first boss of Emerald Nightmare. You can get it on any difficulty, including LFR. This trinket can proc with a socket. Mine didn't, but hey, I couldn't get this to drop during Legion time walking, so this was pretty nice. This is a really awesome trinket. I totally recommend getting it. For the little nether horrors, when they come out, pop this down, thrash and swipe, they're dead in a few seconds. I'm not over exaggerating, it's that good. And it's only a 1-minute cooldown. So I definitely recommend this. I ended up going with Blood Spattered Scale, which in hindsight didn't do, as you can see, it did less healing than my healing potion, and it did a very small amount of damage because I used it during phase 2 when Cruel was down, and I kind of used it as a no crap button. So I actually farmed normal Hakar for this. I went in there, killed him on normal, went out, reset, did that 20 times until I got this. While this is a good trinket, I don't think I needed it. And there's some other really great options that have passive procs rather than an on-use effect. Some of those being the Unblinking Gaze of Seath, which is another all-around really good Mage Tower trinket for a lot of the challenges, but specifically in here, it's really, really good just because it's got a really nice proc rate and it does a lot of damage. I didn't use it, but I definitely recommend it for, more damage, faster challenge, good stuff. Another really good trinket I've seen people use is Phantasmal Echo, which is a damage prevention, damage absorb sort of thing. Really good. I didn't use it. I've seen people use Umbral Moonglaves too. It's got a verse increase, and it's got a damage on a 1 minute 30 second cooldown. Now another really good trinket that I don't have on me is the Ghost Iron Dragonling, which is really good for a lot of the Mage Tower challenges, but particularly here, it's really good because it's, it doesn't have an on-use effect, it's an equip effect. So, it's proccing while you're, busy doing other things, it's a nice trinket. And it also has 3 sockets, which can be, they're called cogwheel sockets, which you can get them off the auction house, or if you're, a Pandaria engineer, you can just go to your Pandaria engineering quartermaster and pick some up. You can also make it if you're an engineer. But the thing is, you really want it to be above level 50, item level 50, because if it's below item level 50, its attacks can actually miss. Someone told me that the other day, and I had an item level 39 one, so I put it up on the auction house and got rid of it. So there's level 40, 50, 54 ones on the auction house on some servers, not on Lightbringer. This guy's on Lightbringer. Didn't have one of those on there, so I just went with the other options. Now for weapons, I know people have used that pole arm off of the 9 from Sanctum of Domination. I tried to use that last time and it really was good. But Claws of Ursoc is one of the 2 weapons in the entire game which druids can dual wield. Claws of Ursoc along with the Fangs of Ashame. Now I use these because you can put 2 enchants as well as 2 Shadow Core Oil. So that's pretty amazing. Now if you're a dummy like me and your Claws of Ursoc are above level 50, you can't put Dancing Steel, the Dancing Steel enchant on them, which I know a lot of people have used. But hey, Force Multiplier is pretty amazing too. And Leo's Force as usual, pretty awesome. Shadowlance enchant. So that was the gear that I used. Now I'm going to go over my talents. So unlike, your usual go-to talents for Guardian, I sort of went with a little bit of a boomy weaving, I guess. I know a lot of people did boomy affinity in Heart of the Wild for their challenge, but it really is a nice sort of damage increase instead of just pure bear. Plus you get to avoid the Aura of Decay. So for the first row, I went with Brambles, passive damage, passive healing, good all around. Blood Frenzy is another really nice choice. Bristling Fur, no way. I don't like that very much, but Blood Frenzy's nice. It's usually my go-to in any content, but in here I picked Brambles just because a little bit of a cushion with healing and damage. For the 25 row, Tiger Dash, not good, and Mage Tower Renewal, not good. Wild Charge, amazing. It has saved me so many times when I'm, you can get knocked off the platform in the Cruel Challenge, so, oh crap, I'm going flying, Wild Charge back onto Cruel, keep going. Really good. I also went with Balance Affinity, partially because of Typhoon, but also just because in Phase 1 I was mostly in Moonkin form. Sunfire, Star Surge, 2 really amazing spells, a lot of damage, even if you're, using it as an affinity. Heart of the Wild with Boomy is really good. That's what I opened with. Heart of the Wild, right into Star Surge, throw up dots on Varus. Just, get them. The eyes also can die really fast if you put a Moonfire and a Sunfire on them. So while people might have taken Mighty Bash, I went with Heart of the Wild just to really just speed through Phase 1. Because I wanted as little Infernals up as possible in Phase 2 so I could be more comfortable. I don't want to get knocked around, so I went with Heart of the Wild to sort of boost my damage a little bit. Mighty Bash is still really good during Phase 2 if, you're comfortable having that many Infernals up, but I wasn't. Now for the 40 row, I went with Galactic Guardian because if you look at my damage meter, Moonfire did almost a third of my damage, which is really, really amazing. You know, use those procs when you get them. 300% increased damage when you get a proc. Really, really nice. Helped me get through Varus really fast. I know people have used Incarn. I didn't. It's a nice, you know, health bonus. You get increased health, lasts 30 seconds. A little bit of a mangle damage bonus with 3 targets, but you're going to be using Incarn in phase 2 only, really. At least for me, I used Berserk in phase 2. You don't have, you know, 3 targets to hit. You're just trying to kill Cruel and, you know, cleave down those nether ads and whatnot. 45, I went with Survival of the Fittest. Bark Skin synergizes with Brambles really nicely, so therefore you're getting more damage from Brambles, and it's just really good. More Bark Skins, less damage, more Survival of the Fit, the Survival Instincts. All good. Level 50, you just want Rend and Tear. These two aren't so good in Mage Tower, especially, you know, this one's not good at all. I didn't press Maul one time in Mage Tower. So yeah, this is what I went with. I know a lot of people have been using Resto Affinity, you know, Ursol's Vortex some ads, or, you know, if you're in a pinch, you can Rejuve and Swiftmend. I just used Regrowth. I think it worked great. So let's look at the damage breakdown for a little bit. So my Infested Ground from my Ravaged Seed Pod trinket did a good chunk of my damage. Brambles is passive. Moonfire, of course, you know, I was thrashing whenever I could. Now the Potion of Unbridled Fury is probably a must-have because it did such a big chunk of my damage, and it probably could have done more if I was, you know, smarter. But this is just, you know, my experience. So Potion of Unbridled Fury, really, really awesome. If you can get, you know, an alchemist to make this for you, do it, because they are ridiculously expensive right now on the auction house. They're about 1,000 gold a pop on Moonguard, and on my server Lightbringer, they're about 600 gold each. I managed to get them when they were 290 gold, which is still a lot of money, but hey, works for me. So all pretty standard. This Arcane Blast from my gloves, the equip effect, did about 2% of my damage, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I think it was worth it. Neck Enchant, Mark of the Hidden Satyr did a little over 1%, and all this stuff, it just adds up, you know, all this stuff down here, Blood Barrier, Lightless Force, Eternal Skirmish, all that stuff just adds up. As for healing, Frenzied Regen I used a few times, 7 times, and Regrowth I used 8 times. Regrowth is really nice when those nether horrors are coming out. Just Regrowth, they aggro to you because you're healing. You know, try to get them off Velen and whatnot. Brambles, passive. Leech, passive from my trinket. The Infested Ground. Healing Potion, Blood Barrier, and my Mastery. So let's go over consumables, and then we'll talk about macros. So for consumables, I used these. I don't have them now because I sold them because they're like quadruple the price of what I bought them for a couple weeks ago. So these aren't mandatory, but they're nice. War Scrolls from BFA. This is basically a mini warrior buff. This is attack power buff, and this is your mini priest buff. So these are really nice. Again, not mandatory. They're pretty freaking expensive on my server, but they're nice if you just want to optimize and get that little extra attack power and stamina. Now, I did use Goblin Gliders a few times. You know, sometimes you are just out of range for your wild charge and you just need to get back on the platform. This did save me once or twice. Again, not mandatory if you aren't, you know, an idiot like me, but, you know, they're nice to have. Not too expensive either. For healing potions, I used Abyssal Healing Potions, which are the potions from BFA. I will say that the Shadowlands healing potions do not scale well at all whatsoever in the Mage Tower. They do like a quarter of the healing of this potion, which is crazy. These are the second best healing potions to use in the Mage Tower, the first one being Astral Healing Potions, which are actually from Legion. Again, crazy expensive on my realm, so I just opted for the second best. Now, you really want these potions of Unbridled Fury. You're gonna use them. They're ridiculously overpowered in every Mage Tower challenge, but you're gonna definitely want them here. You know, this is not really about tanking as much as it is about staying alive and dealing damage and managing your ads. So, Potions of Unbridled Fury, I think I only used, gosh, like 10. I bought 50. Now, for drums, you're going to want drums, basically a mini Bloodlust. Now, these do say I can't use them, but in the Mage Tower, you get scaled down to level 45. So you can use them in the Mage Tower, which is really important. Any drum will work. These were the cheapest. So I went with these. And for augment runes, I just went with the Defiled augment rune. You can use the Shadowlands augment runes, I just ran out. The Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands augment runes all give the same agility increase in the Mage Tower. They all give +5. So whatever's cheapest on your realm, go for it. Now, I just used 2 Shadow Core Oil. Pretty standard. For flasks, I used Flask of Occurrence. Really nice, agility flask. It's the best bang for your buck. It's from BFA. It might be a little pricey, but it's a big agility enchant, and it persists through death. Food, I just went with Burst Food from Shadowlands, Stake Ala Mode, and I just used the Heavy Desolate Armor kit. Pretty standard. Half my stuff was from Shadowlands, but doesn't mean it's not good. It's really good. Now, let's talk about macros. So I had 2 macros. The first one was Varus. It was basically an interrupt macro. I know a lot of guides on YouTube say, make a mouse over focus target or something crazy like that. I don't even know what that means. I just did a very simple /target Varus, use bear form, and then use your interrupt. Because in phase 1, I was in Moonkin form like 90% of the time. So, you're in Moonkin form, you're like, oh my god, he's going to cast Drain Life. What do I do? Just pop this macro. He'll automatically shift into Bear and use Skull Bash instead of Typhoon, because this is a 30-second cooldown, whereas your Bear interrupt is 15. So you want to prioritize using Skull Bash. Plus, Typhoon knocks him back, and it can be difficult to, manage your space. So this is a really nice macro. I did use it a few times. Now, the second macro is my Cruel macro, which I got from Sarah BTV on YouTube. This is basically your consumable macro with casting Berserk. So you use Potion, Drums, both your War Scrolls, and then you cast Berserk. Right when I heard Cruel come down, I popped this. A lot of damage went out in a little bit of time, just because, I'm using that potion, I'm thrashing, I'm, using my Guardian, Galactic Guardian procs. I'm just really pumping out that damage. So it's really good for when Cruel comes down. So a couple of things to note that I didn't already mention is just some tips for the actual fight itself, not preparing for it. And I think the biggest sort of pointer I can give is just be patient. Last time during Legion Time Walking, I couldn't even get to phase 2. And this time, my first pull, I got to 18% on Cruel, which is ridiculous. So, knowing your class is a big part of it, knowing your cooldowns, but also being patient and, having faith in yourself. Another tip I can give you is with the orbs. So in phase 1, you want to use 1 orb because they do despawn after 2 minutes. I know Tactics put up his guide for Mage Tower back in Legion Time Walking where he marked the orbs. So he knew which one was going to expire first. I didn't do that. I'm not that smart. So what I did was I used 1 orb during phase 1 as kind of like, okay, this one's going to go away, so let me just use it. Now during phase 2, be, generous with your orbs. Use them freely, but keep in mind how many are left. Orbs are great because they instantly heal you to full and disorient all enemies. Be, be generous with your orbs. Use them as needed. Don't, be chintzy with the orbs, but use them as like a oh crap button, or like a this is a really hairy situation, let me just use an orb. I think that was the thing that really helped me get through Cruel, was just using the orbs as a full heal, basically. Um, so so yeah, you know, it's going to be difficult regardless. It is a difficult challenge no matter what gear you're using. It was pretty difficult for me, but just knowing what to do in every situation and just really being prepared just made this so much easier for me. Well, I hope you guys get your werebears and your transmog, and good luck.